You're dragged into a royal courtyard, sun burning your skin, dust choking your breath, while an ancient king sits on a throne carved from the bones of conquered enemies. His guards aren't just soldiers, they're executioners trained since childhood. And the punishment you're about to face isn't death. It's a message, a demonstration, a warning carved into living flesh. Modern soldiers think they've seen war. They haven't seen this. Before we step into this world of engineered agony, where kings use cruelty as political strategy, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because the deeper we go into history, the darker it gets. And you won't want to miss what's coming next. Let's begin. The philosophy of royal cruelty. Most people think ancient punishments were random acts of savagery. Wrong. Ancient kings used pain the way generals use armies, as tools of absolute control. The goal wasn't just to punish the guilty, it was to break everyone watching, to ensure no one dared challenge the throne again. In today's world, soldiers are trained for battle, explosions, bullets, blood. But ancient punishments weren't about combat, they were about psychological collapse. Many of these methods weren't meant to kill instantly, they were designed to erase identity, destroy pride, and turn even the strongest warrior into a trembling warning sign for the rest of society. The Persian king's favorite, the crawling box of horror. If you think modern interrogation is brutal, this ancient Persian punishment would make today's elite military units quit on the spot. The victim was trapped between two hollowed wooden boats, head, hands, and feet sticking out. At first glance, it sounds mild, but then honey and milk were forced down the throat until the victim vomited. Their entire body was coated with sweet syrup that attracted every insect within miles. Then the real torture started. Under the sun, the mixture fermented. Flies colonized the nostrils, beetles crawled beneath the nails, maggots burrowed into open wounds. Days passed. The victim remained alive, not because of mercy, but because death was considered too quick, too easy. Ancient kings wanted the suffering to echo through the entire empire. A modern soldier trained for hostile environments would last maybe a few hours before begging for death. Here, the process lasted days, sometimes weeks. The Assyrian warning, the wall of skin. Assyrian kings didn't just conquer cities, they rewrote the rules of fear. Captured rebels weren't executed, they were flayed, alive. The skin was peeled from the body in long, controlled strips by specialists whose only job was to make sure the victim survived long enough for the message to spread. Once the executioners were satisfied, the skin was nailed to the city gate as a royal declaration. This is what happens when you challenge the king. Even hardened Assyrian soldiers, raised from childhood in a culture of violence, sometimes refused to watch. Now imagine a modern infantry soldier looking at this scene. This wasn't war. This was psychological domination. The Greek nightmare, the bronze bull. This wasn't punishment. This was theater. A massive bronze bull, hollow from the inside, a door on the belly, a system of pipes crafted to turn screams into animal roars. Victims were locked inside, and a fire was lit underneath. Their flesh roasted slowly while their agony echoed as monstrous bellows across the square. Kings used it during festivals as entertainment. Not a single modern soldier, no matter how hardened, has been prepared for something designed not for efficiency, but for spectacle. The Babylonian execution of silence, tongue removal and bone collapse torture. Babylonian kings understood something terrifying. If you control a man's ability to speak, you control his identity. When someone defied the throne, the punishment wasn't death. That was too clean, too final. Instead, executioners forced the victim to kneel, while priests recited curses calling upon the gods to remove the rebellious tongue. Then came the knife, curved, sharp, and designed to cut without killing. Once the tongue was ripped out, the torture didn't stop. The victim was forced to stand on stone blocks while soldiers shattered the bones in their legs one by one. Not enough to kill, just enough to make running, fighting, or even standing impossible ever again. Imagine a modern special forces soldier, trained in survival, endurance, torture resistance, stripped of breath, voice, and mobility? This wasn't pain. This was erasure. The Chinese imperial slow death, lingqi, death by 1,000 cuts, you've heard the phrase, but you've never heard what it actually meant. Under imperial rule, some kings reserved lingqi for traitors. The victim was tied to a wooden frame in a public square. The executioner then sliced away flesh in carefully timed intervals. First the chest, then the arms, then the thighs. Not deep enough to kill, not fast enough to lose consciousness. Each cut was meant to maintain agony. Each slice kept the victim aware. Hours passed before the executioner finally delivered the mercy strike. Today's military training prepares soldiers to endure interrogation, but nothing prepares you to watch pieces of your own body fall to the ground while you're still fully alive. The Macedonian crown of fire. Alexander the Great didn't invent this punishment, but he made it legendary. Captured rebels were forced to wear a metal crown. Sounds simple, except the crown was heated until glowing red. Soldiers pressed it down on the victim's scalp while commanders watched from their war tents. The crown fused with the skull. This wasn't execution, it was humiliation stamped into bone. It said, "Your rebellion ends here, and everyone will smell it." Compare that to modern warfare. Bullets, explosions, quick ends. Ancient kings, they weaponized slow agony because fear lasts longer than death. The Hindu royal judgment, crushing by elephant. One of the most feared punishments in South Asian kingdoms wasn't just being crushed, it was the suspense before the crushing. Trained war elephants didn't kill immediately. They followed commands: crush only the legs, crush the ribs, step on the hands first. Finish last. Kings used elephants like living execution machines, organizing the punishment based on how much suffering they wanted the public to witness. A modern soldier is trained to handle chaos, but nothing prepares you to lie on the ground, staring into the eyes of a massive animal trained to dismantle your body piece by piece, while a king watches for entertainment. The medieval European unmaking, the breaking wheel. Europe perfected the art of destroying the human body while keeping the victim alive. A giant wheel, a wooden platform, a sequence of bone-shattering strikes. Executioners used an iron bar to break limbs in a specific order so that the victim wouldn't die too fast. Then the twisted body was woven between the spokes of the wheel and raised above the crowd, left to die over hours, sometimes days, from shock or dehydration. This wasn't a punishment, it was a public event. Even elite modern soldiers, trained to endure unimaginable stress, would crumble under the combined pain, helplessness, and psychological collapse of watching their own body become unrecognizable. The king's real intention: control through horror. Ancient punishments were never about justice. They were about memory. A king didn't need to punish everyone. He just needed to punish someone in a way no one could forget. Fear spreads faster than rebellion, and that's why these punishments were engineered to torture the mind as much as the flesh. The Mongol imperial method, the crushing silence of the carpet execution. The Mongols were masters of warfare, but their punishments were crafted with a different kind of precision, one that left no blood on the ground, because to spill royal blood was dishonorable. So they found another way. The condemned man was wrapped in carpets, tight, suffocating, immovable. Then soldiers on horseback rode over the bundle again and again until every bone had shattered. No blade, no spear, no wound. Just the sound of bones folding like dry branches under heavy hooves. This wasn't just execution, it was a message. Defy the Khan, and you won't even be granted the dignity of a warrior's death. Modern soldiers break under sensory deprivation alone. Here, there is no sight, no air, no chance to scream. Only the slow realization that your ribs, spine, and skull are collapsing in total darkness. The Ottoman royal example. Impalement, the king of fear. Impalement is infamous for one man, Vlad the Impaler, but Ottoman rulers used it long before him. A sharpened stake, a victim lowered onto it, gravity doing the rest. But what people forget is the time involved. If the stake was angled correctly, missing vital organs, the victim stayed alive, sometimes for 3 days, as the stake slowly rose inside the body. This wasn't punishment, It was anatomy turned into theater. Today's toughest soldiers train for pain. But this breaks the mind long before it kills the body. The African kingdom's final terror. The ants of Execution Hill. Certain ancient African kingdoms created a punishment that combined nature and calculation. Victims were tied over anthills, usually the most aggressive species, arms and legs stretched until joints tore. Honey or fruit mash was spread across the body to attract the insects. These ants didn't bite, they carved. Eyes were usually taken first, then lips, then soft tissue. This method was slow, deliberate, and designed for one thing: breaking the human instinct to hope. Even a trained military survivalist would mentally collapse as their senses are stripped away, piece by piece. The final royal nightmare, the Norse blood eagle. No punishment in ancient history combines ritual, brutality, and symbolism like the blood eagle. The ribs were cut from the spine, the lungs were pulled out and arranged on the back like wings. And here's the detail most people never hear. If the victim screamed, they weren't worthy of Valhalla. So imagine the pressure. Your ribs breaking open one by one, your lungs exposed to the cold air, and you're expected to stay silent or be considered unworthy for eternity. Modern soldiers, no matter how elite, train for physical endurance, not spiritual terror. Nothing prepares you for a punishment where even pain isn't the enemy. Your own voice is. The reality of ancient kingdoms. Pain was power. Ancient kings didn't just rule through armies or gold. They ruled through memory. The memory of what happened to anyone who dared step out of line. A man doesn't rebel when the punishment is death. He rebels when he thinks there's still hope. Ancient kings removed that hope. And that's why their punishments could shatter even today's strongest soldiers, because the human mind breaks faster than the body. If you want more dark truths buried in history, stories that weren't taught in school and were almost erased from the record, then don't just watch. Join the channel, subscribe, and step deeper into the world where kings ruled through terror and empires were built on the bones of the forgotten. Because next time, we're going even darker.